All right, so we're watching this film. It's got Bruce Lee, right?
Yeah, and what the cool part about this is that he goes to fight a guy. Guy's real fucking tall.
Real fucking tall. And turns out, Kareem Abdul Jafaar.
I didn't know it. I didn't.
Right?
Did you just say Jafar?
You said Kareem Abdul Jafaar.
I don't think that's his name.
Is it? I don't. Fuck.
It's Kareem Abdul Jabbar.
Jabbar? Are you sure it's not the Aladdin guy?
I'm pretty sure it's not the Aladdin guy. So, anyways, Bruce Lee's fighting Aladdin.
Welcome to Rough
Welcome to Rough Cuts. That's a better intro than what you wanted, you dumb fuck. Got him. It's not me this time. Bob Marley's Christmas Ghost down the toilet. It's Kareem Abdul Jafaar.
Fucking God damn it. Oops.
Dogs, they're coming. They're coming your way. They'll be here soon.
They have been here since the dawn of time. They were on the battlefield with Alexander the Great. They were on the edge of Moscow with Napoleon. They're on every continent, in every city, and we do little to stop them. They're here now, waiting, watching. They've gone unchecked, unnoticed, and now they're monsters.
Anyways, we watched a fucking slasher flick, which has Bruce Lee in it. Technically.
Technically, it has both Bruce Lee and Kareem Abdul Jabbar.
Correct.
Jabbar.
Like the elephant, Babar.
This one's a bit of a stretch. Why did we do it for Rough Cuts?
Well, okay, so Deadly Eyes is a movie about rats that kill people. But on screen, the rats are played by dachshunds in specially fit rat costumes.
Yes. And that's all we knew about it. We just knew that it was known for having all of these dachshunds in little rat costumes running around killing people. We went, holy shit, we need to see these good boys.
Yeah. Well, technically it's 35 dachshunds and 5 terriers.
Perfect.
They had to get some terriers in there.
Got to get some filler. But I'm going to throw it out here that I didn't really notice they were dogs normally. Like, they were the effects were pretty good.
The costumes were pretty good, except for when you could see the dog paw.
Every once in a while. Okay, so we really have a thing on this podcast where we talk about one of the best things in bad dog movies is fake dog paw.
Yeah.
This is our first inversion into real dog paw.
I can't believe they showed real dog paw.
They showed real dog paw.
It was great. Every time you're like, wait, that was a rat. Oh, wait, it's got dog paw.
It's got dog paw. Real dog paw. There wasn't many times that you could see it, and you had to look
for it.
We knew that it was there, and so we were looking, and it was actually pretty solid throughout. I was surprised at how good it looked.
One scene too where they forgot to mute one of the dog barks, and
yes,
like,
I did notice that. Yeah, so they kind of just went over top of it and just did this it's like.
Act like it's a rat. Act like it's a rat. It's fine.
Rats bark. It's fine. It's cool.
Ah, man. Okay, so this movie's called Deadly Eyes, also called Night Eyes, as we saw in the opening for our version that we watched.
Also called Rats.
Rats or the Rats. I have some other curse knowledge. So this film is a Canadian film.
Correct.
By the director of...
are you sure? Wait, hold up. Are you sure it's Canadian?
Everybody sounds like.
I mean, it's only set in Toronto.
It's set
about
in
the mayor of Toronto, with everybody going, going home in Canada, and with like snow Canadian. Everywhere. Yeah. It is like the most fucking extreme Canadian thing.
Yeah, but it's the director of some Bruce Lee movies, including Enter the Dragon, as well as the most famous Bruce Lee movie that doesn't have Bruce Lee because it has a gymnastics star. Instead, Gymkata.
Also, Game of Death did a lot of the really famous Bruce Lee movies. One. Game of Death actually features in this film, which is why we were joking.
But, okay, so It's a Canadian film. Takes place in Toronto.
Yes.
That doesn't sell internationally. By
No
the way.
shit.
Nobody wants to see a Canadian movie that takes place in Canada. That's a horror flick. So you know what they did in the poster? It shows these eyes over like a backdrop of a city with a bunch of tall buildings. They edited the poster to put the Twin Towers in there for international releases, which kind of matters considering. But yeah, so they tried to pass it off as New York City in international releases,
which doesn't really work when they're very Canadian.
Extremely Canadian. The only thing that would even remotely be close would be the subway scene later.
But I mean, it's not like New York's the only place with a fucking subway.
Yeah.
Toronto has a subway.
But like, yeah, people internationally weren't interested in a Canadian movie.
No. But anyways, we open up in small town Toronto, Canada.
Small town Toronto. Everybody lives five blocks away from each other at maximum.
They all know each other. They're all yeah. Every single character in this movie knows and interacts with every other single character in this movie. They all say hello on their way to work. Because, small town Toronto, of course you got to know each other.
There's a university at the High School of Toronto with a bunch of 30-year-olds sitting in their lecture hall, passing notes and laughing and ignoring their presentation on rats that kill people.
I mean, that is the way this film opens, yeah.
Sure. And as they're all passing notes and giggling, the professor gets mad at them and tells them to pay attention because this presentation on rats might save your life one day, kid, or whatever.
Listen up. This rat man is a very important rat man, and you need to listen to the rat man because otherwise you're gonna die.
And we're introduced to this group of teenagers that are all in the same class together.
I just realized, too, just for a moment, I mean, jumping ahead a lot, but that doesn't seem like very sound advice because the rat man dies.
Correct.
So...
Yeah, because he's an idiot.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That was a hell of a thing.
But after the lecture, the one thing that the students took from it was a conversation with each other where they're saying, hey, you ever just want to go ape shit? You ever just want to go feral?
Yeah.
Just fuck?
Yeah, okay.
Just out of nowhere. It makes no fucking sense.
It's amazing. She has this big thing of, don't you ever just want to go wild? And it's because so there's a student named Trudy. We thought this was college. Like, it really, really seems like college. I mean, all these people are way too old. Even almost...
Correct.
Like, they're on the later end for college years. It's like, okay, they kind of would make sense as college students.
I'm going to say movie college. I'm not going to shame anybody for going to college at any age.
No, sure.
But if for film college where they're trying to show
but like an average age, I'm just saying, but like the average age of a normal college classroom, right? Obviously you can be any age to go to college. Like learning is good.
18 to 22.
Yeah, but they seem probably on the 22 end of that scale, but like they seem like
they were 30.
I didn't think they looked that way, but like, I don't know, I thought they were like 22, 25, like they were in that end. In any case, they're in like this big museum, like an lecture hall. So then they're passing notes like it's high school and giggling, and that's because it is. And they were on a field trip, I guess, but like they never established that for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it takes like a good 45 minutes into this film for us to be like, oh, wait, this is high school? Oh my God. And that's really creepy because
it makes it even worse later, yeah.
Yeah, because Trudy, the big thing is that the note passed around is Trudy and Harris, and it's like, and they're like making fun of this girl, Trudy. And she's doing the whole, don't you ever just want to go ape shit, though, to all of her friends.
Because she's bored of her boyfriend.
Yes.
She wants someone else. And
who's the someone?
She has the hots for the 40-year-old science teacher basketball coach.
Yeah, bet she does. In some incredible ways. So she's like,
Yeah.
all I have to do is awaken the wild side of him. All men just need like their inner animal nature to be unlocked because they just want to go ape shit.
It's disgusting. Ugh.
It sucks. It sucks a lot, actually.
And then we hard cut to big piles of grain on the ground.
Yeah, it's corn. Corn specifically,
yeah. Which we are told has been infused with steroids.
Yeah, and because it was animal feed, but he's gonna try and sell it to Africa anyways because he's an asshole. But the health person inspector lady is like, no, you can't do that. Besides, I think that I saw rats in here, so it's all got to be destroyed.
Yep.
And
so then they just fucking burn it.
Hard cut to them with all of these big piles of corn on fire, and I really want to see the director. Like, I would love to have been on scene for this, because the only thing that I can imagine is the director going like, no, emote harder, show your emotions, because all of the characters, the lady that's the health minister is just sitting there like, it basically does a close-up shot of each of the three people involved in this. There is the main health inspector, like an underling that she has that's like a field inspector. And then like the guy that was trying to sell this tainted corn. So she's sitting there, like the health minister lady is sitting there, and she's just got like a blank look on her face, staring at the flames. But then it goes to Scatman Crothers, and he's like waving his arms in the air and grinning. It's just like he's having a fucking party. And then the next person, and then it goes to the owner of the boat, and he's got like, I can only describe it as sad man face. Like if you see like a 6-year-old when they like try and do like the like really pouty, like God, this is going really well for an audio only format.
You can't see it, but we're making the face.
But like it's the face. He's doing like the super pout face. Like it's the most incredible scowl I've ever seen and then opening, then night eyes.
It's really good.
It's really good.
So we need to go back to the teenagers because they're the main characters of the film, obviously. We've been introduced to them, and we've met every single teen, so now we need to go talk to them and meet them even more.
And we're learning all about their drama, their lives, how the intertangling of their romances between teacher and student and other student.
Yeah, what do teenagers do? Do you know what teenagers do?
Well,
when they're alone with each other, like in a house, there's like
I know Toronto Canadian teenagers very well. In Canada, so we have a pastime that we call getting real fucking high and eating Twinkies and Pabst.
Yeah. You just sitting on your grandma's sofa, drinking Pabst, eating Twinkies, smoking a doobie.
Around the gramophone, that's how you do it. In Canada, we didn't have like television in the 80s, so we generally got gramophones. We didn't have tapes either.
There's a black and white television in that house still. That's sitting on its legs above the as a dial. Like it's the most grandma house.
It's also traditional for somebody to play air guitar, which one character does admirably.
I think so. What's interesting about the air guitar, I think it was a hand radio that he literally glued a stick to.
No, it was a
Wasn't it?
broom. No, it was like a broom thing. Like, okay. Oh, so have you never seen those? What that is that's the like it's like a vacuum broom thing.
Oh, those. Okay,
it's one of those. Like the thing is, it's a very 80s product. There's a lot of like this movie is very much like 70s/80s. Like it's a very early 80s, and so everything in it, because I think that it's really low budget in some ways, is like very 70s and not 80s.
It is very 70s, yeah.
Yeah, so have you ever seen like there's like these roller broom things that are almost like a vacuum cleaner head, but they don't have power, you just kind of roll them, and it was one of those, and he's just playing air guitar on it.
I thought I saw knobs and a speaker, so I was like, why did he do that to the radio?
No, it was
Then
there
what
was
were
like
were they
stickers
playing
on
the
it.
music on the gramophone? I don't. What are they playing music on?
They're playing very
Yeah.
like barely loud.
Yeah.
Like I mean, like it's kind of loud, but like very, very, very slightly.
Yeah, but more importantly, we
music.
know that they're high because they ADR'd the stoner guy to say, "I'm so stoned."
Yes, they sure fucking did. Neighbor comes over, tells them to turn down the music, and then
Yeah.
we hard cut to two people making out on a bed.
That's what teenagers do.
You thought that it was the teacher getting down with
because
somebody.
they were talking about her with the teacher, and then it hard cuts to this guy making out with like her.
It wasn't her; it was a different girl.
Okay, I thought but it's so confusing because they all look. They're
Oh yeah, no,
they're just blonde girls with the same hair. I don't know.
What it is everybody also has extreme 80s hair. They all have like the guys have the long hair that everybody in the 80s had. And there's like 5 different guys and they're all interchangeable.
They all look the same.
I don't blame you for that.
But like if you're talking about a character and then hard cut to a situation, it should be about
that character. It makes sense
character.
that it would be that character. Yes. No, I totally get you. But also, yeah, it wasn't. Apparently it's not. It's just another room in the house that we didn't know because it cuts to them making out for about 20 seconds. Yeah. And then it cuts back to our teens downstairs and it's like, what was that? Like they don't even say anything. It's just them kissing on a bed for 20 seconds and
this
then
movie does a lot of not acknowledging things.
Yes.
In general. Speaking of, we have an older teen who is telling the party to cool it because the neighbors are getting mad that they're playing their Beach Boys too loud.
Well, that's the one that was making out upstairs. She eventually comes downstairs and she gets mad at them also because they're keeping up the party baby that they have upstairs.
Their toddler upstairs that is part of the family's toddler, yeah.
Yeah. In Canada, if you're going to have a party, you have to have a party baby. And it is traditional for that party baby. Everybody says that party baby is going to paint the town red. Yeah. And it sure does in this movie.
That was in bad taste, my friends. Right. So the teens leave because they're mad that they can't listen to their Beach Boys and drink Pabst anymore.
Yeah.
So they're going to go somewhere else to drink Pabst and listen to Beach Boys. I guess.
They wanted to go for a burger run. They were like, "Oh God, I'm so hungry. Let's go for a burger run." So they all go out.
It's like their 1 a.m. Pabst burger run.
Yeah, and it's at this point we didn't realize they were in high school. Like it still seems like they're college, and it makes sense that way. But it's so fucking weird when it's.
But then the sister puts the toddler in her little chair to eat, dinner, and then she leaves, and that's when the rats come in from the basement. Mm-hmm. And it's actually, it's really graphic for 82.
It's extremely graphic.
The rat dogs attack the toddler, who just wants to, pet the dogs.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yeah. This toddler is, reaching down at them oh, look at the good boys.
Look at the good puppies in rat costumes.
And the puppies want to touch her hand so bad.
They just want her hand to give her kisses. And then they drag the toddler off screen into the basement, and as the sister come back, she follows the trail of blood all the way down the stairs, all the way into the back room of the basement, and then gets fucking killed.
Yeah.
Without calling for help, without getting a weapon, just hysterically moving down, doing nothing,
Correct.
And then just dies. And the movie never talks about them again.
They exit the film. They're dead. Why would you talk about them?
Nobody acknowledges the death of the two of them. Nobody acknowledges the toddler. The teenagers don't even acknowledge the loss of their friend.
The parents of these people never come home and find out all of their kids are dead and there's blood all over the house. These rats have an incredible power, which is that they can chew. Yeah. So later on, the rat expert says that rats can chew through a 1/4 inch of steel given enough time. Mm-hmm. And it's shown that they have that power when they chew through parts of this film to delete people from existence. They're just gone. They just cut them out entirely. They fucking Thanos snap these people just straight out of entire existence.
So then it's the next day, and our stoner kid with the nerd kid that were at the party are riding their bikes through the 30 centimeters of snow in Toronto.
Well, okay, there's no snow at the time, though. That's the thing.
Okay.
There isn't snow in that scene. That's what's annoying.
Yeah.
Because then the next scene, there's 30 centimeters of snow.
30 centimeters of snow. But they're riding their bikes, and one of them goes to pick up his bike, the stoner kid, and he gets his hand bit by one of the giant rat dogs.
Yes.
And then I guess they just ride their bikes however many blocks, because everybody's close, to the high school
Small town Canada.
For their basketball game practice. And he goes up to the coach. He's like, "Coach, my hand got bit. Look at it. Look at the bone. Look at the bone."
Oh man, it's all fucked up, right? And everybody's like, "Wow, rad!"
He's showing his bloody cut to the bone hand to everybody in the fucking basketball game, going one by one down the line.
This is when you start to be like, wait, is this high school? Because that would be high school. Dude, if somebody came in a basketball, like if I was in basketball practice in high school and somebody came in with their hand mutilated like that, we'd have all been like, whoa, what is it? Can you see?
And the coach, like, rightfully says, "Hey, let's take him to the emergency room. This is not okay.
What the hell are you guys doing?
What the fuck are you doing?" Yeah.
So he takes them down to the emergency room, and I don't know. Then that's when he meets the health minister, right? The lady.
Because the health minister is there because the doctor is also talking to them about, first of all, that the bites were too big for any small animal, so it must have been some sort of a dog. Like a Great Dane.
I was going to say, thank you, please.
Not a dachshund. Not a dachshund. A Great Dane, which is not the same size as the dogs in this film. And at that point, we find out, or we get introduced to the health inspector, whatever her name was, because she's there to interview the stoner kid about what happened and what bit him and try to get some information so that they could go tell their pest control people to deal with it, right?
Yes, right.
That's sense why. Logically why she's there.
Yeah.
Yep. So at that point, then Grandpa gets attacked in the park, walking through 30 centimeters of snow after his hot date.
His hot date with the woman that just got a perm.
The granny that just got a perm, who also shows up later in the film, and then just nothing happens and she leaves.
Yeah, she doesn't even mention that her boyfriend is dead or gone. Yeah. Because he goes and he's like saying goodnight to her, and then he's leaving, and he gets attacked in the park, falls down some stairs. He does, like, he has a whole routine because they bite his ankles, he falls into a fence, and they maul him for a while, and then he manages to crawl over the fence, and he starts running away again, but then he falls down some stairs, and then
the rats literally have human hands and push them down
just
the
shove
stairs.
Them. Yeah. Nothing personnel, Grandpa.
The rats stand up on both hind legs, grow human hands, and push them down the stairs. What the fuck?
This whole thing, it's really long and graphic, and it just doesn't make any sense. So he just kind of gets mauled at the bottom of these stairs, and then he's not acknowledged again.
Yeah.
They never mention anything about him.
There was a scene, I think, before this where Scatman is talking to the health inspector lady about him seeing a bunch of rats and they need to do something about it. And they were this big, and he's putting his hands out like he's trying to show a fish or something.
He shows that, he talks about that later to her.
Is it later? Okay.
Yeah, it's later that he mentions the really big rats, because that's when he's saying, like, I need a new job. And he's having his big rat.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, so after this, what happens? So the guy dies, and then we get, is this when the puppet wall comes in?
Almost, because first, we'll talk about the puppet wall.
Because I need to talk about puppet wall.
We gotta go back to Scatman.
Everybody, wait for puppet wall. Anyway, go ahead.
Puppet wall is so ridiculous. So Scatman's in the tunnel, in his cool vehicle that he has, like his
he's in the sewers,
and he's just swearing up a storm like, "You fucking rats, you better show yourself, I'll fucking kill you, you pieces of shit." He's swearing up a storm.
Well, that's
right now.
Okay,
and then the puppet wall.
Well, she also tells him there is a scene between the two of them then where she's because I guess that this happens right then because she tells him that like you got to get exterminating all these rats, and he's like, well, like I'm not an exterminator, like I'm a field agent, like why is this my fucking job kind of thing? And she's like, well, like that's what your job is, you got to do. And he's like, I'm gonna find myself a new goddamn job. He does the thing,
and then
these rats, they're so big, these rats are huge, you don't get it.
It was really funny because he was talking like Samuel Jackson during this scene, though. Like
Scatman Crothers fucking nails this.
It was so good. It's like, yeah, you better show yourself, you fucking rats. I'll fucking kick your ass. Like,
yeah, he really does say that too. He's like, you sons of bitches, you show your fucking bitch ass. Face to me, I'll blow them off, you little fuckers.
Like he's going in for a hit job or something. It's fucking awesome.
It's really good. Okay, anyways, then Scatman Crothers dies.
In for it now.
Scatman Crothers.
I got some shit in my truck that's gonna get rid of all your ass.
I fucking love Scatman so much.
Shit, you're gonna wish you never ran into George Foster. I bet there's enough of these bastards down here. Ain't this a bitch?
I'm gonna fuck you up.
Yeah, you better come out of that fucking hole. I'll fucking kill you.
Oh my god.
That whips. So the health inspector goes home after telling Scatman to go into the tunnels to deal with the rats, and she's walking up the stairs. And I need you to describe this fucking house. It's so bad.
I tried to do it in song where it's like,
oh man,
oh god. You can do it to like the 12 Days of Christmas,
right?
Because it's like, on the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a creepy clown painting to put on my wall, two funeral urns, and an entire wall of puppets
that look like humans. They're not puppets like you would see. They're
like marionettes.
It's a marionette of people that she's murdered.
Yeah, that's gotta be the explanation.
It's creepy fucking shit. Just lining your wall, unexplained.
Like so she climbs up the wall. Like she climbs up the stairs, and on the wall, beside the wall, is all these marionettes that are off like slightly in frame, and you're like, wait, what? Like, and they're all in like weird, like there's like a clown one. There's one that's like dressed up in like green Robin Hood garb and stuff like this. They're just really
but then there's a few that just like people on the street that she killed with a knife and then made a puppet up.
And then she turns and goes to a mirror, and there's a human, like there's like a funeral urn in front of the mirror, and she just like is looking at her like makeup in the mirror like it's normal. And then she walks into the next room, and there's a clown painting on the wall beside her, and another urn on the shelf above it. And it's like, how many dead people are in this house?
How many people have you killed? Right? And
I think those urns aren't full of ashes. Those urns are not full of ashes. They're full of the human teeth of the people that she's murdered.
It's teeth.
It's gotta be teeth.
I need to describe the clown poster too. It's the Three Wolf Moon poster, but with a clown.
Yes. Yeah.
And the clown's coming at the moon from underneath like Jaws.
Yes.
It's fucked up. It's fucked up. And they have a sex scene in front of it later.
Yeah. We could have gotten to that in a minute, but
because that happens.
Then she phones then it cuts to her phoning the guy, like the
teacher,
high school teacher, Harris. His name was Harris. I don't know what her name is because the movie didn't care about her.
Paul Harris.
Paul Harris is the high school teacher, but I don't know her name. Is what I'm saying.
I don't remember her name.
Like I said, the movie didn't care either. But she calls him up, and I said to you, how did she get his number? And then I realized, oh wait, they showed her opening a phone book, right? They have those. That's a thing that exists.
Remember back in the day, the telephone company would just dox everybody in your town.
Yeah.
And then send it to you and put it on your front door.
Like a death threat.
And you could just call anyone. And you could go to their house. You could just go to their house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fucked up, huh? weird. So
Goddamn.
she doxes him and then calls him up to be
Yeah.
like, hey, you should come over so we can bone in front of my wall of creepy puppets.
Well, there's a really good scene here because
Yeah.
she calls him, and I mean, like,
Yeah,
she does say that.
There's
She does
the
say
sad.
that, but...
It's the sad hungry man scene.
Yes, so like she's like, hey, do you have any like dinner plans? And he's like, well, I absolutely did, but I could cancel them. In fact, I'll just do that right now, and we can just go out. And while he's saying this, the scene before that is him as he's answering the phone, reading the instructions and turning on the oven for his hungry man dinner.
Yeah.
Because he talked about how he was divorced also. He's divorced and has a kid.
Yep. So
And,
then he quietly takes it out of the oven, puts the foil back on, and puts it back in the freezer.
You bet he does.
So we can go bone.
Which is really good. Like, that was played for humor and done really well.
Yeah. So she goes over to her house and walks up the creepy puppet staircase without saying a fucking thing.
Fucking saying. Like, yeah.
Walks past
the 2 urns.
Past the garlands of human teeth.
Like, then ducks under them, like, you know how like they have those bead, you know in the 70s they had those bead curtains?
Yeah,
it's like that, but he just
parts
them, and just goes
parts
right
them,
through.
and then just gets naked, sits down in front of the clown painting, and starts fucking.
Starts, in fact, licking titty, which they show.
Yeah, so one interesting thing about this
graphic,
film, by the way, there was a scare in the 80s, in both the US and the UK. But in the UK, it was called Video Nasties, about censorship and gore in media. Okay. And some of the famous Video Nasties were Silent Night, Deadly Night, which was way too gory.
I haven't seen it.
And the book The Rats, which is what this is based on. So this was actually a Video Nasty, which means it's super gory, needed to be banned, and they were trying to burn them like books that you were not supposed to watch.
Huh.
Right? So this is one of those gory, nasty films. And guess what? They show a lot of boob. And gore and killing of like
children,
animals and children. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's really gory for the time.
Yes. It's pretty gory for now.
Yeah.
You don't often see children getting killed.
And still, the most, like, disgusting thing is having sex in front of that
clown poster. Yeah, that was honestly the most disturbing thing by a lot.
That's the most Video Nasty thing.
The thing that definitely the number one scare that sticks with me throughout this film is her entire apartment.
Every scene after this, we're like, why? They never address the puppets.
They never talk about them. They never talk about the puppets. He doesn't go like, hey, so do you do cool puppet stuff? Like,
yeah, it's like 30 minutes later into the film, you're like, I'm still thinking about those fucking puppets.
I was thinking about the puppets the whole time. Let me tell you. It is really hard to get over a wall of puppets. There's like 20 puppets on that wall, too. We're not talking about like 2 or 3.
Maybe it's a Toronto thing, right? Maybe that's just what people in
Toronto I haven't been to small town Toronto myself, so maybe.
Yeah, maybe one of our listeners who may have been to or lived in Toronto can tell us.
All about,
please, about your childhood wall of puppets.
Yeah, if you have information about the traditional Toronto puppet wall, please send it to roughcutscast@gmail.com. I have questions to ask you.
So then our health inspector, and I think the coach, I want to say, our teacher, meet up with like an expert who is telling them that burning all the animal feed must have moved the rats to the sewer, right?
That's not quite yet, because before that, there's a really important scene that prompts that whole thing. Okay. So Scatman had gone into the sewers and was saying, "Get at me, you bitches!" And see, then the thing is, the bitches get at him, and they maul Scatman Carruthers to death. So there's a big death scene with Scatman Carruthers. He runs away and manages to lock himself in a room. They bite his hand as he closes the door, and he goes, "Oh God, my hand is bitten. I guess that I must slowly fall over and die as the rest of the rats eat me." Which he does immediately. Like, they slightly bite his thumb, which means that he has to fall over and be dead now.
Look, that would have hurt, man.
It probably hurt a
That
fair
would've
bit,
hurt.
yeah.
Yeah, come on.
And then she gets a call from her boss kind of thing saying, like, oh, well, George Foskins is dead.
He had a heart attack or something.
They're like, oh, well, he must have had a heart attack or had an accident in the tunnels.
Mm.
But we don't know because rats got to the corpse beforehand, which I actually kind of like because it's like, okay, this explains a little bit about why people wouldn't be necessarily like instantly going like, oh man, there's killer rats, because it would make sense that, oh, well, we've got rats everywhere, and the rats got to the corpse after they were dead, not thinking the rats caused the corpse. And she goes, well, this sounds like maybe the rats did it. He was talking about big rats.
Right.
So she calls up, nobody wants to believe her. So she's like, hey, high school coach guy, we boned down. Do you want to join me to talk about some cool rats with the rat man that you already know?
You remember that?
Conveniently.
You remember that amazing night we had in front of the clown painting? My wall of wooden puppets.
I'll never forget it, honey. That's a night he'll never forget.
In front of the fireplace where I burned my dad's ashes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, oh yeah.
I'm super down for more of that. Let's go.
Okay, so
can we let the puppets join this time?
We're not going to stop talking about this because
the puppets are. It's so fucking weird, man. It's so weird. It is one of the most cursed houses I've ever seen. It is wild.
Right. So they learned that the rats moved to the sewers. They must have, because the feed burns. So they're looking for other food supply. So then they send in a bunch of people to go fumigate it with, I believe, zinc phosphate or something like that. They mentioned,
yeah, something
just to like cause a nerve reaction and kill the rats, essentially. Yeah. So they go down and do that. At the same time, the professor of the museum walks into the boiler room of the museum with a box of stuff, and then goes all the way to the back of the boiler room for no reason at all.
When you're like almost underselling this as a boiler room, because it is like
it's huge
boiler rooms. Like there's football fields worth of boilers in this fucking basement wherever he is. There's all this huge tunnel system, and he's all in like the maintenance area, and it's like, what is he doing down here? Isn't he like a professor?
Weird. Yeah, the janitor should do this, right? That would make sense. Right? The janitor of the museum finds it and then tells the professor or something.
Or even like the janitor in terms of this, but like in real life, like send your like teacher's aide or something. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah, so he goes down and he notices that the rats ate through the grate that they inexplicably have in their boiler room that just leads to the subway for some reason. So he runs off to go tell the teacher, our main character, about it. So at the same time, our main character is in his house taking a shower as his son is watching BC Newspaper Comics Christmas special on TV.
We had to look that up to be like, wait, did they make a BC Comics like cartoon? And apparently, yes, 2 of them.
It's the Christmas special. I looked it up.
Perfect.
Watching that, so great. And then he walks into his bedroom to go change, and that fucking creepy stalker girl from the high school is there in lingerie waiting for him, and it's fucking gross.
We've kind of skipped over a few other quick interstitial scenes of her like stalking him and being like,
yeah, what the
don't you just want to fuck me though? And he's like,
no.
You're in high school. No,
go away. I'm gonna.
Which at least like, okay, as creepy and weird as it is that they made it so that like a high school chick is doing this to him.
Yeah.
At least they were like did the appropriate reaction of like, no.
Right.
But then also like they're kind of doing it to show her TNA, I'm sure. So
I'm sure, yeah. But so she shows up. He's in a towel, and he's like, "Hey, get the fuck out of my goddamn apartment." Fuck are you doing here?
Correct. Yes, this is the right thing to do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And at the same time, the health inspector lady that he's been boning shows up, and it's the most embarrassing thing ever.
I couldn't watch this scene. It was rough.
I got
real tough.
I got real bad secondhand embarrassment because he walks out.
Yeah.
He tells her to get dressed, and he walks out still in his towel while she's dressed. And then the other lady's there, and she's like, "Oh, you're boning." Oh, no, I was telling her to fucking go.
He doesn't even say that. He never ever they never talk. They never explain things.
He says
also,
he says everything to make it imply that he did do what she's thinking.
Yeah, basically. Well, and that's the other thing is there's a lot of setup for just how much this is looks bad for him because his son tries to come into the room to tell him, and he had said, "Oh, turn off the damn TV," kind of thing. Get at it and get ready because we're supposed to go and meet my new girlfriend kind of thing for this. They're gonna do an inaugural opening of a new subway line.
Subway, whoa!
And so he's like, "Oh, we're gonna go to that with the girlfriend." There's the new subway. An underground though.
An underground subway shop.
An underground
you
subway.
Probably
shop.
Haven't heard of it.
So they fucking. He tells the kid. Get off the damn TV and get ready.
Yeah.
And then the kid gets up and goes to go in his room, the dad's room, while he's there with the lingerie teen. And the kid opens the door, and dad's like, "Get back on the television, you little shit!" And slams the door on him, kind of thing. And I was like,
"I'm
busy.
But
you told me not to." And he's like, "No, I'm busy. Don't disturb me." And so then she comes in, and he's like, "Well, my dad's really busy with somebody in his bedroom. He doesn't want to be
possible
disturbed."
to make it awkward.
Everything possible is done to make this look as bad as possible. It's real bad.
So she gets pissed at him. It's like, "Oh, you're just another fling, huh? But our sex in front of my wooden puppets meant nothing to you."
He's like, "This is a really bad situation." She's like, "No, it looks like it was a real good situation for you."
Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna abduct your kid and take him to the ceremony.
She just grabs his kid and leaves.
The fuck?
What are you doing? You met this man twice, and you're taking his kid. What the fuck is wrong with anybody in this film?
What? So she abducts his kid.
Yep.
And then he goes out on the balcony to say, "What the fuck? You're abducting my kid." He's like, fuck you. She just leaves. So the professor calls and leaves a message on his machine.
Well, all this is happening, yeah.
Which is important. Because then he gets the message, is like, "Oh, the rats are actually real, and they're going to the subway."
Yeah.
The subway?
They want a 12-inch sub for $5?
$5 foot long.
Wow, oh my god. We gotta hurry down to Subway. There's $5 footlongs. Everybody's racing to the Subway. The mayor's going there.
Yeah.
The health inspector.
It's important. They're gonna have a party at the Subway. And they have their traditional toddler at the party.
You've got to have a toddler for the fight. Yeah.
It's Toronto. So then he rushes off, and at the same time, the reason it was important that the professor left a message is because he's going back down to that fucking boiler room for no reason, so he can die.
Literally, just so he can die. That's
the only reason.
It is just pure plot convenience. This man knows too much, say the rats. So we get a scene of two rats in trench coats looking at each other, and they go, "Hey, do you know that professor guy?" It's like, "Yeah, I think he saw us. He knows too much. He's got to be eliminated." And then, they come in and they're blam, blam, and shoot.
Yeah, and one shows up behind him and twists his neck.
Yes!
As more human hands come out of the dog rats. Jesus.
He goes down in this boiler room and, puts his head into the hole.
He's like,
you hear all this chittering. You hear the chittering of the rats, and he's like, maybe I can just stick my head through the grate where they were. And they don't get him then.
So he says, I'm ready to die now. Why aren't you killing me? And the rats are like, I guess.
He even runs to an elevator, an old
gets
service
away,
elevator, and gets away. And then he's still underground, though. He takes the elevator from underground to a different underground.
Yeah.
And then the rats chase him and kill him there.
Because they know where to go. They know where the elevator lands.
Well, obviously,
apparently.
yeah, I guess, yeah. It's fucking weird.
dumbest scene. It makes
This is
no
very
sense.
stupid. This is one of the worst scenes in this film because it's just so nonsensical.
There's also a bowling alley scene, which I'll just mention quickly. But the nerd kid dies behind the bowling alley rack. As all the puppies, the dachshunds jump on him and give him licks, and it's adorable.
Yeah.
That's
And
really cute.
there's a lady that grabs a bowling ball as
full of
she's being
ketchup.
mauled, and she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what the hell is this ketchup doing in my bowling ball?"
Yeah, and then
the
they
rats flood
never,
out.
never acknowledge. They don't even flood out. They literally hard cuts, and nobody cares about what happened at the bowling alley.
Oh, do they not show the rats coming out
Yeah.
of the bowling alley?
Literally nothing happens. It's just
Oh,
the
they
lady
might not
with
in the
bowling
bowling alley. Maybe they don't in the bowling alley.
No,
But because at the same
it's the
time,
next scene that they do.
there's
yeah.
also the game of death is being
Yeah.
played in. There's a Bruce Lee retrospective.
Yes, because the
going
director
on.
did the Game of Death. So
Did
because
all
of
of the
that,
Bruce Lee movies, yeah.
they show like an extended 3 or 4 minutes of this Kareem fight with Bruce
Yes.
Lee, and the whole time the stalker lady finally decides she's going to go back to her boyfriend. She starts just making out with him, a Game of Death, and the boyfriend is not into it. He wants to see this fight scene.
He's like, he keeps on like, she's kissing him, and he kind of is like looking out of the corner of his eyes, trying to watch the scene. It's so good.
Yeah, and the
It's
whole
really
time
good.
they keep showing these like camera angles of things like blocking the Game of Death, and we as the viewers are like, I just want to watch Game of Death.
I
Get
just
the
want to watch
fuck
Game
out
of
of the
Death.
way.
It's
Fuck out
Kareem
of the
Abdul
way.
Jabbar fighting Bruce fucking Lee. Like, come on.
Come on, man. And at that point, we don't actually have the scene yet in the theater
No.
because the rats have to cut power to the subway, where the mayor is riding a subway train full of a bunch of people from the city to their
news
opening
reporters
ceremony.
So they're gonna ride the line
Yeah.
for the first time, and they've got all the news reporters and stuff down there, and she's there with the kid. She's been told that she's gonna get yelled at by the mayor because she was doing so much to like fumigate all of the
Correct.
sewers, and they're like, "What the fuck is this expense? Like, you think there's killer rats? What the fuck's wrong with you?" So they're, he's
Yeah.
glaring at her, and they have this whole little thing, and
But-
then the rats chew through the power line to cut power.
Just because.
Well,
Just
I mean, they know.
because. One of the rats is like, there's people on that fucking train.
They take out bolt cutters and they go over.
Like, do these rats sit down and have meetings about
They
what
must.
they're gonna do? What happened?
They have to.
And then we get the theater scene where the rats attack the theater. And this scene is actually really cool to me from a film perspective, by the way. Because they do attack, they bite all the people on the ankles, there's a stampede, another of the teens, like the boyfriend, the stalker, and the other teen girl, all
Just, like,
die.
They're all dead.
She gets stampeded. So none of the teens fucking mattered.
Not at all. None of
No.
them have anything to do with the plot overall or do anything of any consequence.
And nobody
The
cares that they're gone.
The stoner guy that got bit hasn't shown up again.
He's fine, I guess, somewhere.
He's fine. I think that he's okay somewhere.
Whatever.
I like to imagine that stoner dude makes
Maybe
it.
he's in Deadly Eyes too.
I don't know.
Silent
Silent
Eyes,
Eyes,
Deadly
Deadly
Eyes.
Eyes.
Yes,
Damn
yeah. Same joke. But here's where it's interesting to me from a film perspective. There are other movies where monsters attack a theater, right?
Sure.
And that it's a cool
a
scene
big
because you're
thing.
sitting in a movie theater and there's a theater scene that's supposed to break you out of, oh shit, this is a movie, right? Because this could happen to you where you're at. So I'm gonna name some films that do that. There's American Werewolf in London, Gremlins, The Blob, both the original and the remake, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and Scary Movie. I'm gonna throw at the end of those.
Sure.
There's 2 of these that happened before this film, which is American Werewolf in London, and that's more just a transformation scene. And then The Blob, the original The Blob. So this is a reference to The Blob. That is what this is.
Yeah, or like he knows that
homage.
it's a really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He might have just known that, like you said, that's a really good film technique in a way for a horror film to be like, it could happen to you. Maybe it's under your chair. Like,
But you know when The Blob happened? 58.
Oh yeah.
That's 58 to 82 is the
That's
time
so
frame
long,
here.
huh?
And the only film before this that I could find was American Werewolf in London. which isn't even an attack scene, really.
It's just him transforming. Yeah.
So like this is what started, in my opinion, the revolution of like Gremlins and Nightmare on Elm Street and all those other films afterwards that tried to revive that and put it back into their movies.
Maybe
that's cool to me.
That's pretty neat. Yeah,
yeah.
But they stampede through the whole thing, and I did want to point out something that like they're having such a stampede, they throw someone through a window.
Why?
And then they throw somebody else through the same window like 30 seconds later.
Yeah, they're like, all right, everyone. And they're like swinging them back and forth. Blah.
I mean, it's not literally the same one, but it's almost the exact same thing. Like, there's a bunch of windows being smashed of people coming out of them. They show her trampled body on the stairs.
Yeah.
This gets gory as shit,
it's
honestly.
real gory. Like, I understand.
Really brutal.
I understand why there was the censorship scare, and to some extent. Because this is pushing the line. For sure.
Yeah.
But okay,
I said, I mean, one of the biggest things for me is I still just have to go back to it. Just that, when was the last time that you saw a child being murdered in a movie, and especially that graphic?
Not that graphic. Yeah, it's very few and far.
It's super uncommon.
It's because it's like
super uncommon.
It's kind of an unsaid rule that you don't do that.
You just don't do that. Yeah, like that's exactly like even in the goriest like Saw movies and stuff like that, you don't touch kids. Like you just don't do it to kids. Kids are off limits. And this one just doesn't care. This one doesn't give a shit. They don't show the kid, but like at the same time, they show enough of it.
They show enough to give you a pretty graphic idea. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, and like with the blood trails and there's bloody clothing, like and they do that here again. There's just it is a massacre. They show like all these dogs gnawing on treats out of their hands. Like that's obviously what it is, but also at the same time, like it looks good. Like
it looks fine. Yeah,
their effects are surprisingly good in this.
The next scene is the 1920s ragtime party on the subway with flappers.
It was Prohibition in Canada, 1980.
Prohibition in Canada, 1982. They go back to the 20s as far as music goes. And...
they've got like this like big band swing music playing, and all of these old people like dancing around and drinking from like champagne glasses. Yeah, that just feels real out of place.
And then Paul comes barreling down into the subway and just punches a cop in the face and steals his gun.
Beats the shit out of that cop and takes his gun.
Puts him on the ground and pummeling him in the face, and then grabs his gun and runs into the subway. He's like, I'm saving my girl.
I'm going after my kid and my son. The girl and my son. And the cop tries to stop him at first. Yeah. And he turns around and he pulls the gun on the cop. Like he points the gun towards the cop and then shoots behind him. Kills a rat.
Whoa.
And all the party is scattering because they're screaming and yelling, oh my god, he's got a gun. He's running through the whole thing. He runs down the subway tunnel, and all of the people have exited the subway because they're like, oh,
well, the power's out.
We don't know when the power's going to come back.
Yeah, they can't make more sandwiches.
Exactly. All the $5
the ovens are out. If you can't get it toasted, why bother?
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, well... And that's actually the origin story of Subway, because Quiznos does the toasting and Subway doesn't. So they decided to be different than Quiznos and not toast their subs because they ran out of power.
So everybody leaves the Subway hungry in a single file line.
The mayor's like, I'm gonna lose my job because everybody's hungry. I didn't get them the $5 footlongs prize.
And as he shows up with his gun pointed at everybody in the group, he's like, I'm gonna fucking shoot you all like a crazy man. His girlfriend runs up with the son. He's like, oh, thank you, you're back.
Thanks for rescuing me.
I'm so glad that I abducted your son for this trip.
I'm so happy to see you holding a gun.
And now you show up with a gun. Fucking A. At the same time, the rats attack and kill everybody, including the mayor, except for like one guy that escapes on the subway train.
Yeah, by locking out somebody else, which he had more than enough time to let her in.
What an asshole!
Poor lady that's like pounding on the door. She's like, "Let me in! Like, there's no rats here right now." And he's like, "Nah, yeah." And then she just gets dragged off and dies.
So then our hero, the health inspector and his son, all start a fiery explosion with all these gas barrels that are just lining the walls of the subway.
Sure, why not?
Because why not?
They find butane torches and then blow up all these barrels.
And it blows up and kills a bunch of rats. And then they find a subway train that does work, which is the same one the guy ran into, I think.
Yeah, it's the same subway. It's the same subway. But like the power came back on.
Yeah.
They make mention of it. They're like, oh, the crews must have got the power back on. They run into the subway, and then he turns to his son and he goes, all right, now it's time for you to know how good of an engineer your dad is. And I went,
you're an engineer?
Basketball coach and a high school teacher? Was he an engineer too? Like,
and he can't figure out how to start.
This guy was the pretender.
Yeah, he can't figure out how to start the subway train. And his 8-year-old's like, "You forgot to turn off the brakes, Dad." I know, because of all my miniature train like things that you bought me for Christmas. They're my trains.
They'll go really well with all of the puppets that this lady has.
Yeah, and so he's like, "Oh yeah, turn off the brake." And they drive into the subway station that he just minutes ago was running through with a gun and pummeled a cop in front of everybody. And everybody sees him driving the train. And they're like, yeah, the train.
They're all clapping. They still have their party. They're still doing their party. There's an armed man that assaulted a cop and shot a giant rat in front of them. And they're still just having their party?
It was a good time. Look, when ragtime's playing, you can't just leave.
You can't just leave when ragtime. That's true.
Yeah, they're having their hooch in the subway to ragtime. A Toronto tradition.
Yeah. So the sub pulls in, and as the train pulls in, they're all clapping, and then they keep clapping as all the blood splatter shows on the side of the cars, and they look inside,
like,
and there's the guy that's being mauled to death by what's left of the rats, because there's still rats and they're somehow brought in there. And then they open up the doors of the subway to let all the rats out and join the party, and they all have a good ragtime dance in the credit roll.
Yeah, and then all the rats just get out in a single file line and bow and go, "Rats off to you!" And then it ends. As they take off their top rats.
Anyways, yeah, so they show all the maulings of there's dismembered bodies on this subway car, and everybody leans in and goes and screams, and then a rat hits the glass, and credits. Yeah.
That's right, the rats weren't dead at all. Now they're just trapped in a subway where they could be easily killed.
No.
I guess. I don't know. We're not going to acknowledge anything. Whatever.
You'd think. So this was a novel originally by James Herbert, who I believe said of this film that it is trash, absolute trash, total filth. Something like that.
Right.
Very close to that. Yeah.
I think, it's obviously just a schlocky horror film.
It was fine.
With as much and gore and blood.
Mm-hmm. As much as we made fun of a lot of the things in it, and there are definitely things to make fun of, it is extremely, the effects are very competent. Mm-hmm. The acting is generally pretty good to great. Scatman Crothers is a fucking tour de force for the little bit that he's in the film.
All the actual, shots look fine.
Yeah, it's shot really well.
Set design's fucked up. Why the fuck were there puppets on that wall?
Sure, for the house and stuff, but they have an actual subway.
Most of the design's fine. I'm just still upset about those puppets.
Sure, but the train, that makes it weirder because they obviously had enough money to close off a subway tunnel and get a fucking subway train to come through and film in it.
But nobody walked in and was like, "What the fuck is this?"
But nobody looked at the goddamn puppets and thought that was a problem. So I don't know what the hell. 80s Canada is some real shit, man. It's something.
Yeah. The biggest problem I think is in how they adapted the writing. There's just so many situations and scenes that don't matter, and characters that are never acknowledged, and things that happen that don't actually do anything to the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And just
all the teens just didn't matter at all.
This could have been a 45-minute made-for-TV movie.
Yes.
And cut out all of that crap.
Yeah, or they could have made it the way the novel was, which is the novel is all about that the rats are actually spreading a disease. Like when they bite people, they give them a virus, so people are dying just because of the bites. So the rats don't have to like rip people to shreds necessarily. They just have to bite you, which makes it make way more sense because you could probably hold off some rats for a little while. I don't think that's a huge threat in a way. And yeah, like there's a bunch of different things like that. Like the novel is almost entirely different. Like they take a couple of names and pretty much nothing else.
Yeah, I'm trying to find if that clown painting exists anywhere else, and I can't.
Apparently, like the other thing too is that the novel is supposed to very much be an allegory for like how much this may not be relevant, but as the disease and the rats rip through the lower classes, like it's mostly vagrants and stuff that are getting hurt by this. Nobody else gives a shit, and there's no public health initiatives or anything done until it's too late.
I'm sure that's not related to today.
It's not. There's nothing that would be relevant about that now.
Nothing at all. Yeah.
I mean, I get why the novel's not known.
They took a film about anti-nuclear, like, writing. And classist commentary, and made it about gore and tits.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I understand why you think this is filth.
Yes.
But it's also like, I think it's really schlocky enough that it's entertaining to watch. And there's a reason why this is apparently a pretty popular B movie in Canada.
No,
in Ontario,
this would be really fun to watch.
Yeah.
It would be very fun to watch as a Canadian. Like, I get why in Toronto they would have this, because like how many movies are set in Toronto with a mayor and everything, like very explicitly constantly shown to be in Toronto and everything. And yeah, it has a lot of different things like that, and that's kind of funny. Apparently the novel is also extremely gory and stuff too.
The novel was part of the video nasties, not the movie. The movie I'm sure was eventually, but that was included in that whole censorship scare of the late 70s, early 80s. So,
but they removed any like meaning behind the
they
core.
Did. Yeah.
This movie has no moral meaning or any
it's
core
nothing
like that.
Nothing like The Pack, right?
No.
Where there's an actual story and a reason for things happening and a message at the end.
Or like Night of the Living Dead or anything like that.
Like
any of the like really classics of horror genre where it's like a Dracula, like whether or not you like the message of Dracula, which they're not very great, but like a lot of them kind of have an allegory or some kind of story behind them, and this one just doesn't. This one's just kind of there, but at the same time, it was okay.
Yeah, it's
just like a
film.
If you take it at face value as like a slasher creature flick, it is like perfectly serviceable.
It would fit in just fine at a slasher B movie film festival.
Yes, yeah,
very easily. Yeah,
it's trash, but it's like watchable trash.
Yeah.
It's junk food. It's a Big Mac.
All right, let's rate the dogs. So there were 35 dachshunds and 5 terriers in custom fitted rat costumes, of which mostly you just see their paws, if anything. I think these dogs were really cute, and they really wanted to pile on people and give them kisses and get pets. And it was really obvious in most of the scenes that they were just waddling along, following some food or something, and they were not at all remotely threatening at any of the scenes that they showed up.
They had a really good waddle. I will admit, as much as they look like rats rather than dogs, and they did a good job with the effects, they're not scary. They're not even a little bit scary. Because they do have like this waddle, which like I think rats would probably have a little bit of that too.
A little bit,
they've got like this. They really have this waddle kind of walk to them that's like, they kind of look a little cute.
Like if you're doing like, and then you just show a dog like swag walking, that's basically what I saw.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah.
It's like the music isn't showing, it's not matching to what I'm seeing.
No.
Is the problem.
Yeah.
So I think they did good with what they had, and their idea was not terrible.
It was a smart idea, actually.
Yeah, I think the dogs really wanted pets. They were great. I'm gonna rate them rats off to you out of 10.
Yeah. Like I said, all these dogs wanted to do was paint the town red, and they sure did.
Yeah, and push old people down the stairs.
Push old people downstairs. You
I
notice
guess.
that there's one thing there of all of the places that we saw in this movie. Like the rats went everywhere. They went to the like museum place and killed people. They went to the subway. They went to like the old lady's house and in the park. They went like every single spot there was a scene. The rats made it there, except for her house. Because that's where the puppets. These rats knew not to fuck with that puppet wall.
Yeah, and what they should have done is they should have shown the rats like chewing down the CN tower or something, and it fallen.
Just look at
Right?
the tower falling at the end.
That'd have been great, right?
Yeah, I would have
They
loved to have
did
seen
something
that.
like that. Like make it
Just
more
make it
Toronto.
super Canadian. Yeah,
Super Canada.
Have them chewing through barrels of maple syrup.
Yeah, and then getting stuck, and then that's when they get burned. Like, oh, you idiots! You ate the maple syrup.
Gone.
Yeah, or like they're mistaken for like a taxidermied beaver in the museum or something like that. And it attacks. Like something. Give me something.
They jump out of milk bags at the grocery store.
Yeah, a Mountie's riding a horse and gets like drive-by. Right? Like, come on. I'm not asking for much.
I need something.
Not asking for much here.
It's not like this is. It's an acceptable movie. It's not a great one. The only things that are the scenes that I'd really like to show people are pretty much anything with Scatman Crothers and the puppet wall.
The puppet wall.
Seen.
That fucking scene.
We'll post
Jesus
images
Christ.
of the puppet wall on the Twitter. You can follow us Rough Cuts Cast at Rough Cuts Cast on Twitter, or like we said earlier, roughcutscast@gmail.com. You can send us some suggestions for movies. We have actually gotten a couple recently, so we might be doing at least one movie, I'm hoping, soon. And hopefully we're going to get some new special guests on right away also. Thanks to all the people that support us on Patreon. We do have a Patreon also. It matters a lot to help us do the costs of buying all of these garbage movies and hosting costs and things like that. So we really appreciate some of that. And we're getting over 12,000 downloads. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I know what I'm doing after this. It is my grocery day, so I'm gonna go pick up some Pabst Blue Ribbon, some Twinkies, and maybe a little,
maybe a little edible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna cheese off and get out of here.
All right.
Because rats. Because it's rats.
I don't get it.
That's the end.
Okay.
I didn't know what else to say. I'm done. I'm gonna stop it.
Okay.
Because it ain't like the old days when I started in pest control. It's getting bad and dangerous and ugly down there, Kelly. Would you believe the other day I saw a rat this big?
Are you through?
No, I mean it. He was this big.